Yes, barebi bitu abarungi aba GNTV nimbakulisayo on program ya Gospel Vimba eji shaha emwe mpaka shaha ibiri nimba tukwisiyaho program enfuka nitungo nanye omuhereza wawe Sir Colin GNTV releasing live on program erizoba twatayayaho Eggcellent farm, poultry farm neshangwa Ibanda municipal haiturize kufuna omukugu Poultry ningashi omukorebera ebinyonyi enkoko arabe natutwara akatwereka akatwegesa engeri nki eitwa kubasa kutungamu amatungo genkoko ninga agebinyonyi akutwa ku nito tukafunamu akasente kahindura amagara gitu ntukwegamu nozireberota funo burwire no burwani sota ningashi we no burwani sota zitakarwire nine simu wanje nofuna moto amagoba oyireho byo kutunga enkoko okashanga tina cyo kuyamba ubuzima okashanga business yakutama ati aha Eggcellent farm ekushangwa Ibanda nho twashanga omukugu one Dr.Omara atoyanzurire tware omukwegesebwa kwatirine nankoko twakwakira doctor
musibire muta amazina ni banyeta Dr.Omara Andrew ndi mushao y'amatungo kandi omulisa w'enkoko orunyankore ndi kulwega mpora tinkumanya nungi itwe banyankole tukagira enkoko neshonda echeramire so I'm learning runyankore slowly and hopefully in 1 or 2 years I'll be very fluent at it. So thank you for watching GNTV. We are going to talk about poultry management. Many of you want to venture into this project. You have probably money and you're thinking, where can I put it? So poultry production is a very profitable enterprise if everything is done right. So we are here to talk about that and you're welcome. Thank you.
Webare munonga Dr. Omara enkoko ne shonda echeramira program enfuka nitungo ne kwichibwaho Ibo Mixed Farm ekusanjibwa Bwizwera Rwanyamahembe aho no ku branchinga okaza Bwizwera agombora nabakugu omuku zadu semitumba nabakugu soil testing ne bachebiritaka bataka kwirembo yabo bachebiritaka bagambira there eritaka suitable ryo kubyara emitumba ichirira Innocent Kasisi owa C.E.O wa Ibo Mixed Farm ekusanjibwa Bwizwera enamba zeziri aho ahansi screen yawe omwikirire nakuyamba okurungi omunshonga zorutoke nakuretera mukugu Dr. Innocent Omara abanza tutwaremu ninkushaba program ogire ki wagiganyuramu amuheru gwayo kugira nti niyo ofuneho oyine kitekateko kiteko munkora niyo watandikire at least giramu ekiwa improvingamu kugira nti niwe project yawe ningashi farm yawe ejire yaganyuramu through GNTV through program enfuka nitungo turiyaha kuhereza Doctor aroho abantu abari abine kitekateko those people with a plan of starting this project they are lacking knowledge. Which word can you give them so that they can go ahead with the project?
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you. So I've met many people who want to venture into poultry farming, but the biggest obstacle we have is information.
True.
And that is the most important thing that you need to equip yourself with as a poultry farmer.
True.
So this lack of information makes some people reluctant whether to go into poultry or not. But I want to tell you that it's one of those enterprises that if you do right can change your life. For me, in Western Uganda here, I realized that most people are used to cattle keeping. They have a lot of knowledge in cattle keeping. I've actually been learning from a lot of people here. But they do not know a lot about poultry. And you know, eggs, for example, let me talk about eggs itself. It's one of those superfoods that God has created. Has all the nutrients you need. So, besides the milk you take, the eggs can also be of great help to you. So, I said, since people do not really know a lot regarding poultry farming, let me come up and share with them some knowledge so that they can venture into this project. So if you are there and you want to start poultry farming, what I want to tell you is that it is possible, it can be done. There are a lot of fears that we are going to talk about. There are things people fear. Sometimes you say, if I put all my money and things don't work out. I know that fear. Even me, I had it before starting poultry farming. Yet I'm a vet doctor. So this fear, I'll take you through how we can overcome it, then get into the poultry production. Yes, but it's a very profitable venture if you really want to make some money. Apart from, you see in Western Uganda here, sometimes milk prices fall down. These companies that buy milk lower the prices and everybody produces milk. But if you venture into poultry, then you have a competitive advantage because not everybody keeps chicken here.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it's something that is worth trying.
Yes, Doctor, thank you so much. Nindeba, like, what are those needs? Nibintu ki ebi omurebi wito mulungi wa GNTV ebi yakuteka under considerations before starting this project, like those necessary needs.
So
At least one to five must be done things before starting poultry business. Thank you.
So as they always say, if you start a business, you are an entrepreneur. So there's a problem you're solving. So for the case of poultry, you're solving a problem of malnutrition. That is on a global scale. But also you are solving your financial problems. So there are things that you really need to consider before you begin poultry farming. One is you need to have information. I have already talked about it. It's a very important thing. If you don't have information, then you cannot succeed in poultry farming. And then, number two, you have to consider whether you are doing poultry as a business. Many people keep chicken at their home. You go, you find somebody with 1-2 chicken, but that is not, it does not work in business terms. So what we are trying to teach people is to do poultry as a business. So for you to do this poultry business, you need to have the knowledge I've talked about, and then you need to have the resources. I won't lie to you, it's not very cheap to begin a poultry venture, so you'll need some money. Although,
Doctor,
yes.
Which are those resources?
The resources. So one is money.
Yeah.
You need land. You also need human capital because you're going to work with people. Yeah, I right now employ over 6 people. So you need money, people, you need land, and really, I don't know. Those are really the basics you need to start in poultry.
Doctor, with the cattle keeping, we need at least 10 to 20 acres of land. When it comes with poultry,
yeah.
How, like, which capacity of land do a farmer need to start up a poultry?
So one of the things that makes poultry farming unique is that for it does not require a lot of land. As you can see, I'm keeping over 3,000 birds in a space of 2 plots of land. It's not like cattle. You can't keep cattle in plots of land. So with the poultry, you just need little land because we do measure, for example, layers. We do measure 5 or 6 birds per square meter. So if you want to keep 1,000 birds, you can even do it in a plot of land. So it does not require a lot of land, unlike other enterprises. Even people in town, you can even keep chicken in your sitting room. So that's the one comparative advantage it has over other enterprises.
So Doctor, going back to the other things a poultry farmer that needs after thinking that he or she needs to start a poultry farming, what are those things that she requires to be having before heading to the business? We had reached of knowledge,
capital, also people to work with. Yes.
So omurebi wito mulungi owa GNTV tukiri aha introduction na doctor akiriyo natuyambaho natwera natuha amagezi engeri tutakatandikiremu business y'enkoko nitwetenga ki otakatandikire banza ofune amagezi ofune okumanyisibwa ofune engeri yiwatandikamu ekintu kyawe kurungi kugira nti nkyakare okiganyirwemu kandi okyegese n'abandi omutima bulungi inokushanga omuntu nagamba nkoko oshangu wonka nuwe kuba yagiresire yamubera etyo abw'enshonga akagitandika atetebekanise tikiri aha GNTV releasing Kingdom Life program nenfuka nitungo nanye omuhereza wawe Sir Colin. Doctor,
Yes.
I have all those requirements. But now I have the land, I have money, I have people to work with. Do I need to work with everyone? Also that people are there. Abantu bariho to work with. For example, I'm your friend. You have the idea, you have the knowledge, you have the land. Do I qualify? Do everyone qualify to work on poultry farm?
As long as you can be willing to learn, you can do actually poultry. The most important thing, I don't know how to emphasize it, you really need to have knowledge, because these are exotic breeds. If you're doing poultry as a business, you're not going to deal with the local breeds. So these are exotic breeds. So you must have the knowledge. Well, if you have all those resources, then it's good for you to contact a local area veterinarian, preferably somebody who is knowledgeable in poultry, because it's also a specialty. You can be a vet but have experience in other aspects, maybe like pet medicine or fish. So you need to look for a vet who really understands poultry. Then you can now go ahead and start establishing the business. Usually the commercial poultry production we do is either broilers or layers. Yeah, and if you're in a place like a big city or a big town, it's okay to do broilers, because with broilers it has a quick turnover. Unlike layer birds that you have to keep for 5 months and start seeing eggs. For broilers, you just keep for 7 weeks and you have your eggs and you have your money back. So if you're located in an urban area, you can go and do what? Broilers. Or you can even do layers. But if you're in a rural area that does not have a lot of nightlife, then I wouldn't advise you to go and start doing things like doing broiler, because nobody's going to buy your chicken in the village. So knowing which enterprise to undertake is also very important. There are people who, for example, let me give an example of Ibanda. Ibanda is not a big town. You cannot start keeping 500 broilers here and you expect the town to consume it all, because the nightlife here is not as huge as in Barara or Kabale or Fort Porto or other cities. So knowing the kind of market you're targeting is very important. But for layers, you can keep layers anywhere, because the demand for eggs is quite unique. In all villages, all trading centers, you find these people who make Rolex, they're eating eggs, students. So with the layer production, you can keep your layer birds anywhere you want. Yes.
Oh, wow. I've had this of broilers and layers.
Yes.
Aba murebi wito murungi owa GNTV Dr. Ine yanatushobora nti wo lyabwangu wo lyawira emyezi 7 months 7 weeks.
Yeah.
7 weeks nigo okwezi kumwe ne wiki ibiri, right? Yeah. Myezi weeks mushanju niyo no basa kutunga yenyama wanoenda kasente ka mangu wonka wanoenda business project yo kutwariza ho bwire okafuna mu kujanti niwe abokuba enkoko y'amahuri toraji papire ne banze twarakire dene bona kutandika kwa mahuri konka wori yabwangu wori ya speed no basa kufuna enkoko y'enyama ejo mangu nebo yone kuhenyama no jiguza abenyama bagiri konki yowe owamahuri no twarobwire no ino kuba mugumisiriza izuka kiri aha GNTV program nemfuka nitungo na nyomhereza wa Sir Colin kiri na Dr.Omara Andrew. Doctor,
Yes.
You talked about money. Now I want to ask, because here with me, even me, I have some little money with me. have my 20K, yeah. Yeah, I'm bossly. Can I use that car 20K to start my project? Or which amount? Like you highlight our dear viewer out there watching us. Like which amount can he or she start with so that at least minimum amount, minimum capital amount one can start with.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for your case, 20K, I would just advise you to go and buy some chicken and eat. But for somebody who wants to do poultry farming, 20K may not be enough. So if you want to do broilers, it will all depend on your capital. But if you want to start like with 100 broilers, you see, you don't have to start big. With the poultry, it's advisable that you start small and grow, because there's a lot of learning along the way, even if you have complete guidance. So there's a lot of learning along the way. So if you want to do broilers and start with 100 broilers, you'll need around 1.5 million shillings to start with 100 broilers. And you keep them for 7 weeks. And after these 7 weeks, if you sell these 100 broilers roughly at 25,000 shillings each, you're going to make around 400,000 shillings in a space of what? 7 weeks. So it's quick return. But for layers, here this is where now you need patience. I have birds that I have brought in January this year, and up to now we're in April, no egg. I'm just spending money on them, construction of the house, feeding them, buying the birds, paying workers, medication and everything. So with the layers, it needs patience. Now for layers, for you to make some fairly good money, you need to start with I always advise people, you start with 500 if resources allow. Now to start with 500 layer birds, construction of their house, constructing a house for 500 layer birds will cost you around 4.5 to 6 million, depending on where you get your materials from. So if you can source the materials yourself, the eucalyptus, iron sheets, you can even use second-hand iron sheets, you can even use makoko. You see, you don't need to use those expensive materials at the beginning. So it will cost you between 4.5 to 6 million to put the house. Now, to buy the birds, each of these layer birds, they are sold at 4,500 shillings or 5,000 shillings. When we are budgeting, we budget at 5,000 shillings. So 500 birds, that is 2.5 million shillings. That is buying the birds. Now, to feed them from day 1 or from week 1 up to week 18, because we usually expect egg production within week 18, you will need about 8 to 9 million shillings. This cost can even be low if you buy feeds during time when they are cheap. For example, January, if you buy maize in January when it's sold at 800 shillings, 900 shillings, you will lower the cost of your feed. Soya bean and sunflower and the rest. But if you want to start right now, we're in April, prices have shot up, so you will spend more. But usually between 8 to 9 million, you will keep these birds to the point of laying. And for layers, if you keep them to the point of laying, 500 birds, you're going to be getting an average of 15 trays every day. So these 15 trays of eggs every day, depending on the price of the egg, right now farm price of eggs is 12,000 shillings. So you can do the math. So you will be getting at least more than 170,000 per day in egg sales. This is not a profit, but in egg sales. Of course, every day you are feeding these birds. So you might use about 60% in feeding the bird. So if you take away 60% of 170,000, then you probably remain with around 90,000 shillings every day. So with the layer, it is long term, it pays well, but it takes time. With the broilers, it's short term. It also pays well if you have the market. You see, with the broilers, when they reach 7 weeks, you have to sell it off. If it exceeds 7 weeks, every other day they are spending on your farm, they are eating on your profit. Because they stop growing, they start now just putting fats after 7 weeks. So the market is also very important. So basically that's how the poultry business works. So with 500 layer birds, you will be making roughly 80 to 90,000 shillings per day. And these birds lay for 1 year and 8 months or even 2 years, depending on your management practices. If you keep them well, if you see these birds in the background here, these ones have already stayed here for 1.5 years. They are still laying for me eggs very well. So how you manage it is very important. Yes.
Yes, doctor, you have said 1.5
Years.
years.
Yeah.
Don't they miss around, or there it's according to the feeding?
Missing as in
Missing laying.
So not all the birds will lay every day, but there is a percentage there is an acceptable percentage of egg laying, which is usually about 85%. So if about 85% of your birds are laying, or even 80%, you're in business. If if it is below 80 or 70, sometimes the money you make becomes it may not really make sense. So if you manage them well, most of them will lay above 85%.
85%.
Yeah.
You have talked about feeding. Then feeding, how do they feed? Like, let's say, for example, let's calculate on 500 birds. There with a farmer who wants to start, because that's the number we have given our farmer, our viewer. They are watching us. 500 birds. Feeding wise, how can she or he calculate his budget?
Yeah, so I already told you for 500 layer birds, you need between 8 to 9 million shillings to feed them to the point of laying. But you don't need to have all this money in cash. You don't need to have it at once. If you have some source of income that probably in a month you get like 1 million shillings or even 800,000 around there, then you can really start. Then you keep on purchasing the feed. So these birds, when they are young, of course, their feed consumption increases as they grow. Yes, as they grow, their feed consumption increases. So from week 1 to week 18, we keep on increasing their feed every week. Yes. But when they reach week 18 and start giving you eggs, then now the quantity of feed we give them is constant. And that is 120 grams of feed per bird. So these 120 grams, you multiply by the number of your birds, and then you give that. Of course, it will come into kilograms. Then you give it to your birds. So to calculate the cost of feeding, usually we use a range. Why? Because cost of feed changes.
It changes per growth.
The cost of feed changes as the season goes. Harvesting season, feeds are cheap. Like soybean, sunflower, maize, they are very cheap in January. Right now, the price is just shooting up. In August, when people start harvesting, everything will go down. So, as a wise farmer, make sure you buy feeds when they're still cheap. Yeah.
Then with the after bringing them when we have educated them about feeding and because these birds, they take chachu, right? That's the most and
Yes.
chachu attracts more animals that are unwanted on the farm. For example, rats. You know that chachu feeds on rats.
Rats feed on chachu.
Rats feeds on chachu.
Yeah.
So, how can you fight rats coming inside your farm? Because now rats, first and foremost, they will not only eat feeding on chachu, they will even affect the birds.
Sure.
You find that they have damaged the birds' legs. You find they have damaged the birds which are still young, which you're still grooming. How would you fight? Because you cannot tell me that you're going to put rat traps everywhere. So how do you fight those unwanted animals? Because with the layers, that means with the time, now these birds, they are laying eggs for you.
Yeah.
And with the eggs and snakes, they are some friendly.
Yeah.
I think because when we are still young, we used to. How do you fight those unwanted intruders in form of animals on your farm? Thank you.
Yeah, so there are things we call principles of poultry management. There are things that are fundamentals. They are like the foundations of poultry management. And one which is the most important, we call it biosecurity, biological security. So biosecurity is basically preventing disease from getting into your poultry farm. So how do we prevent diseases? There are very many agents of diseases, and one of them you've mentioned is a rat. Snakes can even be people. So biosecurity starts right away from locating where you want to put your poultry farm. So you make sure, you've asked specifically about rats, make sure that you clear every bush around your poultry farm. Fencing, we do fencing, that's to avoid human intruders. Make sure that you fence around your poultry house. And then also we have what is called disinfectants that we put around the poultry house. Before you step into the farm, you dip in your feet. Because we walk in different places, you don't know what you carry. So then when you're constructing the house, you put wire meshes around the chicken house. This wire mesh will prevent wild birds. You know, wild birds, they're reservoirs of many, many diseases of these domestic birds. So if you're constructing your chicken house, you make sure it has a wire mesh. And this wire mesh will prevent these birds from getting in. For the case of things like snakes, if you clear around, they will not disturb you. Then for rats, you can also buy rat traps and put around. But so you need to have extra layers of biosecurity. There are things. It's a combination of things that you do to control these intruders to your farm. Yeah.
So, doctor, let me first take you back to feeding. Something we had jumped. I have some funny friend of mine. He says, for me, I'm like a hen. I drink water, but I don't urinate. So, how often do these birds, and do they need water? And how often do they like to continuously so that they be on healthy? Because, and how do you store? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think it also skipped my mind when I was talking about starting a poultry business. I didn't mention having a water source. So these commercially raised birds take a lot of water.
But they don't urinate.
They urinate, but their urine comes together with the droppings, so you don't. It's a mixture, so you don't get to see it. So water is very, very essential. For broilers, they have to put on the weight, and science says our body and other living things, about 80% of the component is water. So water is very important, and if you're really starting a poultry business and you don't have water, then it's not going to work out. Here we have 500 birds. These are the first birds I started with. And these birds consume 150 liters of water every day. Of course, 50. Of course, they are at the point of laying. So when they are laying, with the egg production, 80% of the egg is just water. If you don't give water to these birds, you will wake up tomorrow and don't find eggs. Yeah, so birds need to take in a lot of water, and during rainy seasons like this month of April, it's raining a lot, so these birds don't produce at their peak because it is cold, and when it is cold, naturally birds don't take a lot of water. But in dry seasons, egg production shoot up. You will notice this as a farmer if you start layer production. When it is a dry season, you will get a lot of eggs because it is hot. Birds taking a lot of water. Yeah.
Then, doctor, with the feeding, do they have specific time that this is time for feeding, and why?
Yeah. So with feeding, when you just bring your birds when they are chicks, you give them feed every time. They eat every time. Whether it's night or daytime, you even put for them light, because these birds, when there's light, they will just continue feeding. So when they're young, you want them to pick up very fast. You want them to pick up, their immunity is low, so you want them to grow up very fast. So you give them feed. In science, we call it ad libitum. You just give as much as possible. You don't even look at the time. But when they reach a month, you start rationing the feed. And you ration this feed according to their weight. So there's a chart that we use for feeding these birds. And you feed these birds for the sake of layers, we feed them twice in a day. Now the time I'll leave it for you to determine, but it's always good to feed them during the cool hours of the day, like morning and evening or late afternoon. So like for me, my birds, 7 a.m. they have feed, and at 3 or 4 they have feed, but we usually maintain 3:30 p.m. That's when the day it's becoming cool. At daytime when it's hot, they are resting, they are moving around, they are laying eggs. So when you're feeding them, feed them at least twice in a day and maintain the time. For those birds that are laying, if you don't maintain the time, you're not going to see eggs. They're going to become stressed. Because as soon as the time, they also have what is called a biological clock. So if the time reaches...
They know that today we are fasting.
Yeah.
So they don't give you the egg.
So it gives them stress. You will not get enough eggs. Yeah. So you need to maintain the time of feeding them.
Wow, these birds are funny. Nana amatungo nago nigika gaburabura gananka geunya wanga kutiminga kurungi engeri eyora homu ebinyonyi byawo bwire wano mangu no zaka sheshe, let it be in the morning, bwabuli omwazi let it be in the evening. Konko doctor yatushobora ngo akasheshe na no mwihangwe no mwazi obwire obwo buteka kujante ebinyonyi bitu bibiriremu reka tuzo kachombura ngo babakama bitu otargaho.